Welcome to Gutter Trash episode 335. Merrick, the Sensational Elephantman. My name is Eric, the infamous hippopotamus.
And I am Jason, the sad weasel. How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Pretty good.
That's good?
Yeah. I mean, it's sad, but...
Well, sure.
It kind of goes by without saying.
Well, we're all sad, so...
Oh. Actually, I'm not sad.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
fine. I'm caffeinated. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm barely caffeinated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Barely?
Barely.
Mm. I'm sorry to hear that.
It's alright. It's been rough financially. So I
right.
can't afford, coffee and stuff.
Can't even afford a tea bag.
Nope.
I'll give you a tea bag later.
Alright. I can't afford it.
I'll give, the first one's free for me. That goes out to all the ladies.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Merrick the Elephant Man.
Yep.
John Merrick.
John Merrick. Joseph Merrick. John or Joseph. I don't know. It's one of the two. Maybe it's both.
Yeah, you're right. For some reason, John sounds right, but now that you said Joseph, I think it is Joseph.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe it's one of those things like sometimes people are called John or Jack.
That is weird. I never understood that. Yeah.
Do not either.
But yeah, I think it's Joseph Merrick, yeah. But anyway, either way, they call him the Elephant Man.
Yeah.
Because he's got weird face.
Yep. I believe that's a medical term.
Sorry, Mrs. Merrick. Looks like your child has a weird face. Squirt this ointment on him.
Do you think that's why we've never had another Elephant Man? Because there's an ointment now that you can just squirt on the kid?
Right. Probably.
Oh, so yes, this is a comic.
Oh, can I give a little background on this?
Yes, you can.
This particular copy of this comic traveled overseas to get to us.
What?
From Great Britain.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
My friend Neil,
yes,
coworker and pal,
man
about town.
Yeah, I'm aware of him.
You're aware of him.
He is my sugar daddy.
He's your. That's right. He is. I forgot about that. Man, he must not be a very good sugar daddy if you can't afford a tea bag from
I know, right?
But
he's got to up his game.
He's got other bitches to take care of. No, but he went to London very recently.
Yes.
And he brought this back, and he thought I would like to read it, so he loaned it to me. He hadn't got a chance to read it yet, but he's a big fan of the Elephant Man legacy and lore.
Who isn't?
Right?
I know I am.
Right?
Quite a bit.
Right?
So, yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's very fascinated.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of, there's not a lot of fiction based on it. I mean, you can read the same kind of articles and but you don't really see a lot of interesting fiction. So he was stoked, and he bought this, and he was like, I thought you might want to read this too. So he loaned it to us to use on the show here.
That's cool. I mean, was this published by a company that you could only buy a copy in England?
I believe so. I mean, it has a publisher thing in the beginning, but I forget who it was by. He's looking at it right now.
I am. I can't. It's just published by Tom Ward.
That's the writer, I believe.
Yep. So self-published?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, this is it has a barcode, so it's a real book.
And I did not notice that on the back it is £9.99.
Wow. Pretty authentic.
I have no idea if that's how to say that numeration.
Oh, but it has the pound sign.
It does, yeah. I believe that's the pound sign.
Yeah.
It's not the euro, right?
No, that's pound, yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this copy came directly from London to the Gutter Trash Studios.
Wow, what a waste.
Spoiler. So, I really wanted to like this book.
Uh-huh. Where to begin?
Well, I will go ahead and put this out here. I think the story was just fine.
Okay.
Like, I had no problems with the story.
Alright. Like, just overall plot? Or, like, as a reading experience?
Well, as a reading experience, I had many problems.
Okay, alright, yeah.
But I think the plot was fine.
Okay, alright. Yeah, it was thin.
Yeah.
Best.
Sure. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's the devil in the details is what gets you, usually.
Yes.
Yeah. And one of those unfortunate devils is, who's the artist again?
Luke Parker.
Luke Parker? Gosh, how to put this?
Put it nicely.
I'm trying. I'm very trying. Well, first of all, let me just go ahead and say, much congratulations to Mr. Tom Ward and Luke Parker for publishing a comic book.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a 4-issue series, I guess.
Right.
And,
or at least that's what this collection consists of, is 4 issues. There might have been more because it kind of seems like there could be more.
Sure. It definitely is open for a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
So, good on you for that. That's a lot more than I've ever accomplished. Hard to just shit on it for that.
Yeah, your comics are overseas.
Yep, yeah. I mean, maybe these gentlemen are from, I have no idea where these gentlemen are from.
I think they're British, I believe.
And they have a very nice introduction from a writer that I despise.
Joe Casey.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a nice, positive, praising introduction.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, your comic is terrible.
I don't think it was terrible.
I do.
I did not enjoy it, and it would be 100% because of the artwork.
I did not like the writing as well, but 80% of it for me was definitely the artwork.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from the jump, the cover alone will tell you all you need to know.
Yep. Well, this is interesting too, because Neil bought this when he picked it up. He was like, "Oh wow, a book about Joseph Merrick. I love the Elephantman."
Right.
And he was like, "And bonus, they got Magnola to do the cover."
Sure.
That's seriously what he said.
Yeah.
And he said he didn't realize until after he had already purchased it that it's not a Magnola cover.
Nope.
It's just Magnola worship.
Yep. I think that's probably the best way to put that. Because this entire book is drawn in a very Mike Mignola worship style.
Oh, yes.
But with none of the craft or skill of Mike Mignola.
I totally agree. It looks like he just laid out all these different Magnola pages.
Yep.
Mostly from I'd say early 90s era, because it has that kind of Topps Comics Dracula Magnola style look. Like a lot of the way the characters are drawn. Because, or I guess it's actually pronounced Mignola.
Whatever.
But we'll call him Magnola.
I appreciate that.
But it looks a lot more like that era of his artwork to me, especially just in people's faces and crowd scenes and things like that. I see a lot of details that, like, oh, there's how he did that back in the 90s or whatever.
Right. I can see that. For the most part, what I get is, Mike Mignola had to work to get to his style at some point.
Right. And
this is a guy who knows where he started originally, but, he is clearly just trying to ape Mignola.
Oh yeah. It's not even kinda close, or you can see a little Mignola in there.
Yeah.
It's like he's literally copying panels and just putting his characters.
Right.
That's what it looks like to me.
But a lot of it, and Mignola does a thing in his books, which again evolves from 30 years of working in the industry and owning his craft.
Right.
inset panels where there's just like a weird like statue face.
Yeah, or like a little clock or a bat or whatever.
Yeah. Or like if you look at the back like cover of like, any Hellboy comic, there's usually just some sort of weird panel that like, it's just like something that clearly Mignola just wanted to draw.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, yeah, I'll just slap it on the back of my book. And like this comic is full of just panels that kind of look like that too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, cause like you said, there's Mignola pages where, there'll be like a weird placement of something like an object or a statue or whatever, just kind of in the middle and of two panels, and it has like it sets a tone or creates an effect or something. But it looks like he was like, I bet Mignola would put something here.
Right. This would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just not well done.
No. Like, if I had to say anything good about his artwork, and I don't,
you don't have to, but you can anyway.
Yeah, I would also say that, there's a very Kevin O'Neill influence that comes through occasionally.
Oh yeah?
At least I see it on the cover somewhat. But, it's sparse.
I see what you mean. Like, there's like something else kind of.
Right.
Like, it's 98% Mignola.
Oh, absolutely.
But the other artist it reminded me of, I can't remember his name, but he's the guy that did, Death by Chocolate and Threshold. And
David Yurkovich?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Some of it kind of reminds me of that guy's stuff too.
Okay.
Like, especially like the women's spaces and things like that. Like, and I love that guy's artwork.
Oh yeah, he's also a very good artist.
But that's the thing is, like, I would imagine if Mr. Luke Parker just drew this in his own style,
right,
it would be fine.
Maybe. Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. I still really disliked everything else about this too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did not like the story, and I did not like the writing. I thought it was very ham-fisted.
I don't mind that though. Like,
and very generic and predictable.
Yeah, it was kind of predictable. There weren't a lot of.
And also, at the same time, made very little sense. Like, just elements happened, and there's, like, no explanation given to, like, characters' motivations, why they're doing what they're doing, who they are, even, other than, like, we know who Dr. Trevs is, and we know who Joseph Merrick is, just because we exist in the world, and have seen a David Lynch movie or two.
Yeah. Except for Inland Empire. Go ahead and skip that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it was one of those things where if maybe this was a comedy and it was like kind of poking fun at like the world that Mignola creates for his characters, I would think it was fucking genius. You know what I mean? Like, oh my god, it's this parody and he drew it exactly like Mignola would.
Right.
Like that would be amazing.
Uh-huh.
But no, it's like...
It's full on serious.
Yeah, it's totally serious, and it's just a constant reminder every single panel.
Yeah.
Like, I'm flipping through here, and there isn't a panel that I'm not like, wow, it's almost as if Mignola drew that. Almost. Yeah.
It is a very unskilled Mignola.
And it's like, I mean...
Because you can even see how amateurish it is underneath the style.
Right.
Like there is very little thought to storytelling, pacing, layout. Anatomy is off.
It just looks like panels were, looked at from a Mignola comic and redrawn. And it's sad because I think it's funny because last podcast, I think right before I told you the book that I was picking, we were talking about Nick Bradshaw.
Yeah.
And we're talking, and like you said something, I forget what it was, but basically you were basically saying, it's kind of infuriating when someone just rips off somebody else's style. And I thought it was I started to be like, well, let me pick my next book because I'd already read it. But to me, that is like one of the worst things is if you are just aping somebody else's style and you're not like putting any of your own self into it. Like I would rather see a really flawed 100% self-expression artwork than like a really nice ripoff of Mike Mignola.
Yeah.
Like, I would much rather see this guy just draw it in his own style.
I'd be very curious as to what that would be. But, I mean, I am guessing, like, I mean, this clearly was his choice to do it. I mean, like...
Because I honestly, like, by looking at it, I don't think it's as bad. Like, I think he can clearly draw, but it's just not great because of it's so off-putting. I can't even get into the story because I'm just like, it's like Mignola. It's almost like Mignola every single page. Like, it's all I can see.
I mean, yeah, but like there are definite instances, I feel like, where there's just an amateurish undertone to like everything.
But I love amateurish undertones.
Well, I know that, but you know, he's covering it up with, you know, a Mignola skin.
Yeah, exactly. And I say, I have to go on a tangent for a second.
Okay.
I was behind a car yesterday. I was driving down the road, and his vanity plate said skin.
Ew. Gross.
And it was a Lexus.
Gross.
And like the windows were tinted, and I was just like,
nope.
I know, it was like, it was the most off-putting thing. Sorry, I just had to share that. I haven't told anybody that yet. No, it freaked me out.
As well you should be.
But yeah, like you said, it's like, it's amateurish and it's hidden behind this Mignola thing.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm like, I'm totally fine with amateurish artwork. Sure. Like, it doesn't bother me at all. If anything, it might even make me feel like more relatable, you know?
Right.
Like, hey, this guy's trying, you know, even though he's not a slick professional. But to put it, you know, to do this Mignola worship, it just kind of ruins it for me. It just falls so flat and just makes it...
It's very flat, you know, just speaking, you know.
And he worked hard. He penciled, inked, and colored this.
Yeah.
Like, he worked on this.
There's effort, for sure.
But...
it's just misdirected effort.
Yes. It's like, oh my gosh.
But even, like, the page that I'm looking at right now, honestly, like, if I had to describe it, it'd be as if the South Park guys adapted a Mignola page.
Right?
I mean, just the characters, the way they're positioned, how they're posed, they all just look like paper cutouts.
Yeah, it's really flat. Yeah.
And yeah, just the storytelling is like, again, there's just like a panel with like a random monster face.
Yeah.
In the middle of like an action scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just...
I you know, it does remind me of when I was like, you know, a kid, and I was, like, I remember the first time I saw Chris Ware's artwork, it blew my mind, and I was like, I'm gonna ape this, and like...
Oh, sure.
You know, and I put out this little mini comic, and, you know, I, like, kinda tried to steal some of his, you know, the things that he would do, the tropes.
We've all done it.
Right. But I'm like, oh, he would probably have something like this in here.
Yep.
Even though I don't know why he did it.
Exactly.
So it's so out of place when I look back at it now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work.
No, yeah,
and that's what this is.
We have all done that. We're all guilty of that, like, but we've also never published them,
right.
You know.
I made 5 copies of that book or something.
Sure.
I think I still have 4 of them.
That's barely publishing.
Right.
Yeah. But, I mean, yeah, I did the same thing with, like, Frank Miller stuff when I discovered his Sin City work. I was like, what? You know?
Oh, yeah, he's another good example. I've seen a lot of people ape his style.
And then, you know, all you have to do is look at the early 90s and the hundreds of comics that came out from Image.
Oh, yeah.
They're just like...
Rob Liefeld.
100 guys that wanted to be Rob Liefeld.
Right.
You know,
you can't be fronting on Liefeld.
You cannot. You know, you have to learn...
Him and Mignola.
You have to learn his craft. You have to earn his craft. That's what he did.
Yeah, he did. And, you know, and what's particularly frustrating is there's a little pinup section in the back.
Uh-huh.
There's like 8 different, completely varied styles of artwork.
Yeah.
And every time I look at any one of these, I'm like, damn, I wish that guy would have drawn this book. Especially, I fucking love Tiernan Trevelyan or whatever. This page here.
Yeah.
This pinup is fucking amazing.
It's pretty good.
I love it.
It's Mignola worship, but not as overt.
It looks more like, like, hey, there's a little nod.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, oh, okay.
Yeah. If anything, I would say that's maybe slightly more Guy Davis.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Maybe even a little Kevin Nolan, however.
I think it's Nolan.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah,
I don't know how to pronounce Magnola, so yeah.
It's okay, Mr. Shamborn.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
But yeah, all of these things in the back are great. And Miss Corley is awesome. Joe Badon. I mean, like, all these pinups are like, I just look at them and I'm like, man, even this one's super cartoony. And I'm like, that would have worked better.
Yeah.
You know? Like, any of that would have been better. I don't know. It bothers me. Like, I've tried to...
Oh, it was definitely hard to get through.
Yeah, it's like, takes you out of it. You can't just read it. You're just like, oh, here's another Magnola. Oh, okay, Magnola. Like, I'm thinking more about Mike Magnola than I am Joseph Merrick when I read this book.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate.
Yeah. It just... Like I said, like, I didn't even enjoy reading it, like, otherwise. Like, I thought the story was super thin.
It was thin, but I didn't mind it. Like, I'm fine with, like, there's absolutely nothing about this story that bothers me. It really doesn't. It's not amazing,
no,
but it's readable, I think, and good. It's enjoyable.
I found the dialogue to be just overblown and overdrawn, just almost to a Claremontian level.
Oh, okay. I mean, there's not as much.
Not as much, but there's a couple sequences where it is. And, like, even, like, the hand lettering of, like, the sound effects bothered me.
Oh, yeah.
They're so generic looking. Like, characters, like, they don't really have character. Like, everybody's just kind of just a trope.
Right.
Like, the motivations of everybody is very, like, murky or just non-existent.
It's kind of timely, though. If you look at this sequence here, there's a clown that comes out of nowhere and attacks this guy.
Yeah.
It's very,
Yep.
It was a prophecy.
Oh, by that measure, then it was also a prophecy.
All right.
But no, like, there's, like, weird occult stuff happening, but, like, there's never any sort of explanation to any of it. Like, not even, like, a hint at anything.
I didn't mind the murkiness of that, though, because there's this bookstore owner that sells this book and all these different, people want it, basically. Right. And I did love the idea that, like, you just see these people come in and complain about them not selling it to them for their dark matters.
Yeah.
I didn't mind that, but... Yeah, I mean, I'd say the plot's not great, but it's enjoyable.
I would never, ever call it enjoyable on any level.
But the art...
I really hated this comic.
Yeah.
Hated it.
The art just ruins it for me.
The art ruined it far more than I think had it been drawn in a different style.
Yeah.
I probably would have not liked it otherwise, but...
It wouldn't have ruined it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I would have at least said, well, but I like the art, or hated the art for a different reason.
It makes me real curious, because I've never heard of this creative team before, and it makes me real curious if maybe, like, that was the goal. Maybe he was like, I want to try to draw this, in a Hellboy style, even though that's not the way I usually draw, and I wonder if that's why it didn't work. I wonder if his art always looks like this, or...
I'd be very curious to see if he has a different style otherwise, but I can't imagine purposefully drawing an entire, 128-page story in that one style.
Oh, yeah.
And not having, nothing other than a basic grasp of comic storytelling, slip through otherwise.
Right.
Because everything is so... poorly on the nose. Hellboy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I would almost be like, if it was just an illustration, like, he's like, hey, I'm going to draw a picture of the Elephant Man, kind of like Magnola would.
Yeah.
Because Magnola's never drawn the Elephant Man that I know of.
I think he has, actually.
I mean, that'd be fine. You'd be like, okay, that's kind of cool. But yeah, it's 100 and something pages of him worshiping Magnola, and it doesn't work.
My main thing about the art, other than, everything that we've been talking about, is that it is clearly, Like, it reminds me of, like I said, we've all done this, like, when you're 15 years old or whatever, you're like, oh man, I love this guy's style, I'm gonna, like, draw exactly like him.
If I just duplicate this page, I'll be as good as him.
Right, yeah, and so, like, there's the very last page of this story, has like it's a splash page of sorts.
Right.
And it is just the most amateurish looking thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, I laughed out loud when I got to that page. I was like, seriously?
I actually like that page.
Oh,
it doesn't bother me.
You're not good.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, the implication of what is happening on the last page is also dumb as shit.
Yeah.
But,
I like dumb as shit, though.
I know you comics. Do. But if it were...
But look at it. But before you close that page, there's even that little inset panel.
Oh, yeah.
There.
Like a random skull.
I know, and it's like, this is, I don't know, it reminds me of like a kid that says like, he sees his dad's toolbox and he's like, Dad uses these tools on things. Right, I'm gonna use this tool on something else and I'll be just like my dad. And it's like, no, you're not using that tool correctly.
Right, you're actually hurting something. Yeah. Stop it.
Right? That's what that art reminds me of.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree. But even, like, this page, the implication of it, and if it were done in a tongue-in-cheek style, like, 50% more on board than I am right now.
Yeah, that's what I was saying a while ago. Like, if this would have been a comedy, and it was just, like, a ridiculous parody of... Because, Mignola's comics all kind of tie together, and there's this world.
Yeah.
Like, if it was, like, a parody of that world, and it was funny, and it was drawn like this, I'd be like, that's fucking great.
Right.
But...
I would be definitely more on board. But it is...
It's so serious, and
exactly.
It's just... Yeah.
And it's basically... I mean, we haven't even talked about the plot of this, but it basically posits Joseph Merrick, the Elephant Man, as Hellboy of sorts.
Pretty much, yeah.
Just his deformities.
Even has a big right hand.
Yep. His deformities basically make him superhumanly strong and tough. And so he basically goes out into the world and kicks some ass.
Right?
And then there's occult stuff that happens.
That's the plot. That is the entire book.
Pretty much.
And I honestly would be fine with that if it was drawn in somebody's own style,
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if it's good or bad.
Yeah.
If it's your own thing.
Definitely rather have read this if, like, you had drawn it. Or, anyone else.
I never would have finished it.
No, of course not. But, Luke Parker, if you have a style outside of what this is,
please use it.
Yeah, I want to know what it is. I want to see you develop that and not be a Mignola clone.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's weird because, I mean, because Mignola's used other artists, to draw, like, BPRD stuff, and some of them all...
They have a look.
Yeah.
I forget the guy's name, the guy that drew, like, a lot of Baltimore stuff. It looks very Mignola-ish, but...
I never read the Baltimore stuff, but, like, I can definitely mention, like, Ryan Sook started out doing BPRD, and Matt Smith.
Fregredo and...
no, not Fregredo. Because Fregredo had his own style, and he's been doing that for decades.
Right.
So he was just doing his own thing, but, like, Matt Smith and Ryan Sook definitely started out, like, you can look at their early work for Mignola and say, well, they're just trying to Mignola. But then both of them, like, evolved into their own things.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And
maybe that's what this fellow is doing.
Hopefully?
Yeah.
Hopefully? And, like, even, we read that Frankenstein Unbound, or not Frankenstein Unbound. Underground. When the guy who drew that had, like, he had his own style, but you could definitely tell that there was a Mignola influence in it.
Sure. This doesn't look like an influence. This looks like he had 1,000 Mignola pages taped to this wall, and he's like, okay, I need a panel with a guy. Okay, here's one. I'll just redraw that.
Yep. And it's, a lot of it is just him, like, taking sometimes those just random panels of, like, here's a guy posed as if he is, like, sitting for a portrait, and this would just be my panel of, like, a guy talking. Yeah.
Right.
It's just like, it's...
Yeah. Yeah, I love expressive artwork, and I understand homage. Like, I like it when bands cover other bands, but I like it when they take those songs and
make them
completely change them into their own. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's like, if you could, you know, take what you like about an artist, like Magnolia or whoever,
right,
and insert elements of it into your work and make it your own thing, that is amazing.
Yep.
This is not that.
No. And, you know, like I've said before, like, I've been guilty of doing it in my own work. I mean, for years I was ripping off Bruce Timm blatantly, like, in stuff that I would draw. But, you know, like, there was also, you know, 20 years of me practice that was still in there.
Right.
That you could say, oh, definitely Bruce Timm didn't draw that. It's just a guy trying to draw like Bruce Timm.
Sure, yeah.
Whereas, I mean, honestly, like, the best panels of this you could accidentally confuse for a Magnolia.
Oh, yeah.
Panel.
Because it's not only like, yeah, it's like everything. It's like the way he does the shadows in there, the way he does, like, you know, like little sparks or whatever, everything.
Like you said earlier, this is like 98% Magnolia, and then like 1% somebody else, whom we can't, you know, define.
Right.
And then maybe 1% of Luke Parker.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's too bad.
Yeah.
Because it could have been really cool, I thought.
Sure. I mean, you know, like you said, there's not a lot of fictional works out there about Joseph Merrick, and, you know, it could have been cool to see something like this.
Yeah.
Also, maybe had it been treated with, like, a little bit of humor.
Right.
Instead of just so dead serious.
Yeah. Not necessarily like a comedy, but just like
a sense of fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, fun.
'Cause, even as serious as Hellboy sometimes takes itself, it is also fun.
Right.
You know, it's just a fun romp through whatever story he's going through.
Yeah, From Hell is the only other book I can think of, comic-wise, that has, some Joseph Merrick stuff, and that's great. Like, the stuff with him in there, I love it. Like,
sure.
But I mean, that's one of my favorite books anyway, but.
It was, the Billy the Kid's, old-timey oddities that had, the Elephant Man in it.
And he was a little, he was souped up as well.
Yep. But that was also something that was clearly not taking itself seriously.
Right.
And also, Kyle Hotz is fantastic.
Yeah. Kyle Hotz is up there pretty high on my list of amazing artists.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, you can look at a Kyle Hotz art and say, okay, well, he's clearly influenced by, like, Bernie Wrightson and Kelly Jones. And,
right.
You know, some old, like, Wally Wood for sure. But he's also totally got his own style going,
too. Yeah. Like, exactly. Like, you can tell where he's come from, but you can also see where he's going, and it's further away from that. Yeah.
Exactly. He's finding his voice even, you know, after 30 years in the industry.
Right.
You know, he's continuing to grow and evolve.
Yeah.
I definitely hope Luke Parker does that.
Me too.
You know, like,
yeah, Google image this, people, to see what we're talking about. It's called Merrick the Sensational Elephantman.
Yep.
I mean, it's just, like, it's Magnolia. I mean, it's what he's trying for, and I don't think anyone who's ever seen Magnolia's art would not recognize that right away.
Exactly.
And to me, that just ruins it. That just takes you out of it.
Yep. Yeah, it's, like, you know, hate to harp on this again, but, you know, it's like Tom Scioli. You know, you look at his artwork and you're like, okay, well, he's just trying to do a Kirby thing, but if you look closer at it, he's also completely doing his own thing, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Know? So, you know.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with influence.
Exactly.
Like, it's what sparks you to be creative in the first place, but yeah, it's just.
Find your voice.
Yes, this is like something that would have been awesome if he would have done this and then never published it.
Yeah.
And learned, like, you know, I've done that. I've looked at, like, Wally Wood art and, like, tried to redraw it, or Jack Cole and Kevin Nolan. Like, I'll redraw a page and I'll try my best to make it look exactly like it. Yeah. Not changing anything to make it my own.
Because you're trying to figure out how they did it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm not trying to be them. I'm trying to, like, learn something from the experience. Maybe you learned something from this.
I hope so.
But, I learned that so far I don't appreciate his art.
Yep, same.
And I hope to in the future.
Maybe. We'll see. Yeah. Hopefully he just doesn't fall further into the rabbit hole.
Right.
Yeah.
And unless the next one looks like total Liefeld worship, I would read that.
Yeah, well, there's a million other artists doing that,
right?
Yeah.
I would read Elephantman by Liefeld, though. Oh my god.
Sure.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, so he should have done a variant cover. He should have done a pinup.
Yeah.
They can get Joe Casey to write an intro. They could have gotten Liefeld to do a spot illustration or something. Yeah. And again, I think it comes down to, Mignola got to where he is through years of work and practice and owning his craft. And this guy clearly just like, well, I'm going to jump in and
you just hand me the ball, Mignola. I'm going to keep running.
Yep.
Nope. It doesn't work that way.
Nope. So that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But also, I loathed every page that I read of this. I'm gonna be honest with you, I practically evil-earned this book.
You did read the whole thing?
I skipped 10 pages at a time. I looked at every page, but I did not read every page.
Yeah. Well, then we're even.
Hey, I could still hold my own in a conversation about it.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, well, like you said, there's
nothing.
There's not a lot of. There's not a lot of plot. It's just it's more like a mood.
Yeah. And the main thing to talk about this book is the thing we have been talking about.
The unfortunate choice.
Yep.
Artistic choice. Yeah.
Yep. So apologies to Neil for spending God knows how much money it was. £10, however that is translated to the dollar.
Maybe he'll dig it.
Maybe he will. Yeah,
I hope so.
I hope otherwise he had a good trip to England.
Yeah, I think so.
That he didn't just go there for this.
Yeah, he heard this was on sale and he booked the flight.
All right. Well. Take a break?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's cleanse our palate. We'll come back with positivity galore.
Let's hope.
Welcome back.
Hello. So, to the listener, if you want to go back to the first segment and make a drinking game, take a shot every time we say Mignola or some variation thereof.
Yeah.
And make sure that somebody is with you who is able to dial 911.
It's probably accurate. Yeah.
So I did look up Luke Parker during our break here, and he does apparently. This is his style.
Yeah.
This is what he wants to be.
Yep. That's unfortunate.
Yep.
Yeah, you showed me like a kind of a nice piece he did of Harold Ramis when he passed away.
Yep.
But it looked like
Mike Mignola.
Baby Mignola drew it.
Yep.
It's too bad.
Yep.
I think everybody has a way to express themselves, their own self.
Exactly.
And like to me, it just wouldn't do it for me if like I picked my favorite artist and just tried to draw like them. Like that,
Yeah.
Like that'd be an interesting exercise, but it wouldn't be like the mode I would want to operate in.
Right.
I mean, you can probably see, when you look at my art, you're like, oh, clearly, there's Picasso and Frazetta. I mean, this guy's fucking great.
I've always said that.
No.
Not that it looks exactly like it, but I see the influences.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, there's some cartoonists that you can clearly see the influence. I'd say Jeffrey Brown is my main,
I would say that's definitely your top one.
Yeah. But I mean, I can also look at comics I drew when I was 10 years old.
Right.
And to me, they look like what I'm drawing now. I just know how to better shade or something like that, and to me, it's sad when when a band just sounds like a shittier version of a band you like,
right,
or something like that.
Like Creed versus Pearl Jam.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Luke Parker is the Creed to Mignola's Pearl Jam.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was thinking.
Oh.
No, and I've said it before, I've done it myself. Like even as recently as 15 years ago, when I was making comics, I was like, okay, I'm gonna start trying to draw more like, Bruce Timm, or like for a while I even had a bit of a Mignola thing that I was trying here and there.
Yeah.
But, after a while it was just like, well, this isn't working for me, this is not who I am.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Try to keep up with him and grow to his,
It's not gonna happen here.
Yeah.
And I mean, even now, I don't know who I draw like if I...
Let's say Chap Yep.
Chap Yep, I take it, yeah. But, I mean, honestly, in the 90s, when I first got the major bug to make comics, I mean, Liefeld and Lee both hit big for me, within those first couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
And, exploded onto the scene, and I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
I need to be doing that.
Sure, yeah. Right.
And unfortunately, I feel like that really just hampered me a lot.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that can set you back.
Yeah.
As opposed to like I said, if you do an exercise where you're like, I'm gonna, draw in that style for tonight.
Yeah.
Not forever.
Right.
But just to learn something or to see what you can pull from another influence.
Right.
I don't know. It's disheartening to me. I love art and every level of it. I love people who are like, I don't know what I'm doing. And you're like, that looks awesome.
Right.
Or people masters of their craft and everything in between, but only when it's their expressiveness,
Exactly.
Not them aping something.
Yeah. You and I, we both do volunteer work for a group that, treats
the Nazis.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're, the other group.
Shit,
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Well, yeah. Well, after President Trump is in office, then we can freely talk about that. Yeah.
Finally. Yeah. It'll be socially acceptable again.
Yeah. But we both do work for a group that helps developmentally disabled people make art.
Yeah.
And I don't know about your experiences because we both volunteer at different times and for different groups,
classes,
basically.
Whatever. Yeah.
But mine, it's all more kind of crafts type of stuff. Like a lesson.
Right. Yeah.
And there's always one girl who every single project, she's like, well, am I doing this right? Well, what should I do? And, or like, you know, I feel like, or she's always like, I feel like I'm doing this wrong. And I'm just like, no, you know, it's art.
Yeah, there's no wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, just do whatever you want. And yeah, there are no mistakes. And at least in this type of art,
Right.
there are no mistakes.
Yeah. Just don't paper mache that thing exactly like Magnolia would paper mache that.
Exactly, yeah. But yeah, I mean, and again, you know, she's, you know, mentally disabled, so it's hard to get it through to her that, you know, just, you know, whatever you feel like doing when you have that piece of paper in front of you, do that.
Exactly.
You know, don't try to please other people.
Right.
And definitely don't try to copy other people.
Right.
You know.
I agree.
And
yeah.
someday I'll learn that too.
Right? Yeah. I mean, yeah, I see artwork there that blows my mind.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, you know, clearly amateurish,
Yeah.
but it's such an expression of how someone feels or like something they need to get out.
Yep.
And to me, that is way more impactful than almost getting your drawing to look just like Art Adams or
Exactly.
almost getting it to look like you know, Alex Ross or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, just do it yourself, kids.
Exactly.
Make it happen. Make it look like how your soul wants it to look.
Yeah. And, you know, in comics, I think is different than other types of art in which there is sort of ground rules to follow.
Right.
You know, just, you know, very, very basic building blocks, you know, type of stuff, you know. But beyond that, just, you know, go nuts, do what you want. You know?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, you know, cause, you know, I pretty much only follow, like, comic people on, like, Twitter or whatever.
Right.
You know, and, like, every single one of them, like, you know, get, you know, well, how do you make comics? You know, that kind of thing.
What size of brush do you use?
Right, yeah. It's like, whatever works.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah. I know, like, I know a guy, I'm not gonna name his name, I'm sure you haven't.
Like me, Nola?
It's not. Sorry, they just did one more shot. No, there's a dude that shops at my work. He's been shopping there forever, and he's an artist. And I don't think you know him actually. So, like, it's not like somebody that I'm not.
Ben Rottencock.
Not Rottencock. But this fella, super nice guy. He's been.
Kyle Hotz?
No, it's not him. He's been shopping there for like 20 years. I've talked to him, and he's always talking about the comic that he's going to make.
Yeah.
And like he keeps buying stuff, and he's like, this is great. I love the way this guy draws, like, you know, water. Like, I remember, like, this is how long it's been going on. I remember him buying a cross-gen comic because it was off the new rack, not out of the dollar box.
Yeah.
Because he liked the way, like, it was like El Kazan or Kazan or whatever. It was like the way that the guy drew water. And, he was like, yeah, that could really help with what I'm working on. And like, and he always comes in, he's like, you know, I bought this new pen, and he shows me this pen he bought, and, you know, he's like, this might really help me, like, get where I'm trying to go. And I'm like, dude, I mean, like, he's older than me.
Right.
And I'm like, he's gonna be fucking dead by the time he draws the first page of his comic.
Yep.
Because he's trying to get it right.
He's never going to draw that first page of his comic.
Right.
Because he is spending too much time, you know, worrying about the tools
Yeah.
and worrying about how to draw certain elements instead of just doing it.
Yeah, exactly. That
And-
blows my mind. I'm like I could see that being a stumbling block, but I feel like after a few years, you'd be like, well, hell, I haven't drawn anything yet. Maybe I should just sit down and do it.
Right?
You know?
I mean, you know, and I'm a guy who talks about, you know, the comics I want to draw more than actually drawing the comics, you know? But, you know, it's a fear it's a fear of failure, and it's a fear of success.
Right.
You know, cause if you draw that first page and it is perfect, and it's like, this is exactly what I'm going for, now page 2. Fuck.
Yeah. Right? There was somebody, you know, I'm pretty sure this is like a kind of a famous quote. Someone said the first 1,000 comic pages you draw are going to be terrible.
Yep.
And after that, it's going to be good. So it's like, why make that first one? Why try to make it perfect? Because it's going to be the first of your 1,000 bad ones.
Yep.
Just fucking draw it, get it out of the way, draw the next shitty page, and the next horrible page.
And eventually, it's going to start getting better.
Yeah, it might not even take you 1,000 pages
Yeah.
if you just fucking do it.
Like even Jack Kirby, I think, you know, is like quote from him that I always remember. It was like, well, I fucked up this one, so I'll just get it right the next 20 times I have to draw it.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. And he did.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I've clearly drawn more comics than that guy that you're talking about, but, you know, like I don't do a lot. I mean, there is an element, like, I get the element of, you know, well, I don't have the right tools to do this.
Right.
You know, but yeah, at a certain point, there's just, you know, there's no excuses other than I'm just not doing this.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the biggest hurdle. And it is a hurdle to look at a blank page, especially if you don't, you know, have like a pile of your output to inspire you to keep going. You know, if you're like, this is the first thing I've done, I gotta come out of the gate right.
Right.
But yeah, it's like, don't worry so much about the tools and about making something perfect.
Right.
I remember hanging out, there was a friend of mine I used to draw with years ago, and I was hanging out at his house and I was showing him the different pens, and like, we were both actually drawing, so we were getting shit done. But I was like, yeah, this one's like a horsehair sable Japanese, you know, pilot, or not pilot, but, you know, Pentel brush pen, but I really like this, Faber-Castell, pocket brush pen. But then, you know, my go-to is usually, the Statler pigment liner 0.3, and he was like, I just use a Bic. That's what he said. And I looked over and he had drawn a fucking amazing drawing with a Bic pen. And I was like,
yeah. I mean, you know, there is, you know, I mean, some tools do help better.
Oh, sure.
And obviously, when you're drawing, you know, you do have your preferences for what works for you.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, if you have a friend who's also an artist, you're like, hey, check out this thing that I just got. I think this is amazing.
Yeah.
You know,
but there's no one tool that is going to make your art awesome, and there's no one art style that you need to emulate to be awesome.
Exactly. Like, I mean, you know, I hate 99% of everything that I've ever drawn.
Sure.
But, you know, like, you know, that 1%, you know, like some of it has just been, with a Bic pen on a Post-it.
Yeah, right?
You know?
You're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Really?
Right. It's like, well, there goes my $100, you know, Copic set that I bought.
Right.
You know?
And my Bristol board, double 3-ply vellum.
I don't use vellum. Smooth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll start using
I don't like the tooth.
I love the vellum.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll start drawing smooth paper and I'll draw like you.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I would also recommend the Faber-Castell,
disposable brush.
Yeah. And, I do like the Pentel pocket brush. And
it's a
I
nice
also
one.
use the Kuretake at times.
Oh, those are good too. Yeah. And like, don't get me wrong, this dude that comes in Mavericks, he's super nice, and he's even given me a couple pens. He's like, I use this one. I didn't really like it that much. And he's like, if you want to try it.
Yeah.
You know, and like, he's a nice dude, and like, you know, he's excited about artwork, but I'm like, I've never seen a drawing by him.
Right.
Yeah. And we've been talking about his drawings for 20 years.
Right. You should say, hey, bring something in.
Yeah.
Like a sketchbook.
He's like, he'll probably bring in a blank sketchbook.
Right,
and be like, hey, I like the paper on this one. Just fucking draw.
Right? I mean, you know, part of it for me, though, is like, I get bored. Like, I start drawing a comic page and I just bore the shit out of myself with it.
Right.
You know, like I've got a 2-page comic that I've actually been working on. I drew the first page of it and I haven't started on the second page, and I started the coloring on the first page. But like, at this point, I'm just like, man, I really don't want to work on this anymore.
Does it seem daunting because you look at all these other panels I have to do? Is it that sort of thing?
Kind of.
You could
it's
do
also just like, I know the end of it. So, like, the excitement of it is
the story's already played out in your brain.
Yeah.
Because as I was gonna say, you could do like Chester Brown. He draws every panel on a different page. Yeah. And then he just tapes them all together.
You know, I did do that once.
Mm-hmm.
For a while. I mean, I was scanning them and compiling them in Photoshop.
Right.
You know? But now I'm drawing this one all digital. So, you know, it's a different thing for me altogether.
Is it gonna look like Batman Digital Justice when you're done?
That's what I'm hoping for.
Awesome.
I believe I still have my copy of that.
Oh, yeah. Well, surely you weren't able to sell it, so you probably still have it.
I'm pretty sure I bought it at Mavericks when I convinced you to sell it to me for like $3 because it had been sitting on your shelf for 20 years.
Yeah. I think we still have one. I think after you bought that, I opened the drawer and put another one out. There's a couple hardcovers we have many copies of from the 90s.
Do you guys still have a copy of Iron Man Crash?
Oh, no.
No? Okay.
That one's cool, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the first all-digital comic, apparently, allegedly.
I remember that cover. He's got the cool, old faceplate with the pointy top. Yeah.
It's the best Iron Man armor.
It's pretty cool, yeah.
I don't like fancy-dancy, modern-day Iron Man armor.
Right.
Give me old school 60s Silver Age Iron Man.
Yeah.
The weird hip discs.
I'm not a big fan of that original clunky one from Tales to Astonish. That one's a little too Frankenstein monster, but
although I do like that.
It's cool
as a one-off.
Yeah, it'd be cool as a short sci-fi story, but not as here's the character I'm going to follow on a monthly basis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when you got the sleek original red and gold.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Gene Colan. Yeah. Who knew Gene Colan would be good at Iron Man?
Right.
So honestly, I know that came first, but I always knew him as the horror guy.
Yeah,
and then when I saw that he had originally done Iron Man for a while, I was like, really?
Yeah.
It's good.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. He can mix it up.
Yeah, he can. Like Luke Parker should.
Yeah. Oh, we can't harp on him. I feel like he's probably just a fine dude and he's doing his thing, but we just don't appreciate that thing.
Nope. Yeah. So yeah, what's been going on?
Nothing much. Yeah, nothing much.
Nothing last weekend.
Oh yeah. Last Sunday, I was hanging out with my buddy Rob.
Yeah. Good dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I met Rob Liefeld last weekend. Worlds collided. Veggie Saturn meets Brigade.
Oh God, I want to draw that now.
Yeah, no, I went to the Cincinnati Comic Expo.
Yes.
And I was
the one that's in Cincinnati.
Yeah, well that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was there in line when the doors opened. I was outside, waiting in line, and they would open the doors, and I immediately ran to the back of the facility where Rob Liefeld's table was.
Yes.
And I was fifth in line by that point.
Yeah.
And I waited and got his autograph on my Youngblood #1.
Nice.
He personalized it to Jason.
Excellent.
And shook his hand, got a photo with him, exchanged a few words, gave him my room key, and then I left. Yeah, it was good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it was cool. It was a positive experience. He was nice enough,
right.
And I have an awesome keepsake. And
you got him early in the day, so you're not exhausted by that point yet.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. You were also there.
I was also there. I did not have an experience like that.
Mm.
I did not meet any major heroes of mine.
Oh.
But I met some guys that I admire.
Mm-hmm.
Did not really exchange any words with any of them. But
you did give them your room key, though.
I did give them all of my room keys.
Yeah.
And none of them showed.
Aw.
Tony Harris, why?
Where were you? He was trimming his beard.
Yeah.
Because he definitely didn't do that right before the show. He has an awesome beard.
Yeah.
It's goofy and weird, but I love it.
I mean, it's no Alan Moore, but...
No.
Yeah.
It's cool, though.
But no, yeah, I was there both days out of Saturday and Sunday. It was a 3-day show.
Mm-hmm.
I did not go on Friday. But,
some guys have got to work.
Yeah, exactly. But no, yeah, I was there Saturday and Sunday. And Saturday I was just hanging out. And me and our friend Joe G went and just seeing the sights and meeting some people and buying some comic books.
Yeah.
And, of which I did, the bare minimum of all that. Right? And Joe G did the full maximum of all that.
He went balls deep.
Yes, he did. Yeah, I got snuck in on Saturday.
Oh, Joe put you in his duffel bag?
Yep.
Yeah. They're like, what's in there? He's like, just a bunch of Rob Liefeld comics. They're like, move on then. Go ahead.
But no, my friend, Bruce had a table there. So he got me in, Saturday, snuck me in. And, but then Sunday I was actually helping him at his table, cause he is, co-writer on the new book that he has out, Finite, was there Saturday helping him, so I was there Sunday, and, he told me to bring stuff to sell. So I was there at his table Sunday.
Sweet.
Yeah. Sold not a goddamn thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I know Sunday was not as busy as Saturday.
Sunday was definitely not as busy, and there was heavy competition, with Stanley and Rob Liefeld.
Right. Yeah.
Mostly Stanley.
I saw a couple people standing in front of your table, and they would look over at Stanley and look at you, and they look at their $500 like, where do I spend it? And then they walked over to Stanley's table.
Yeah, you could have spent that $500 on me and bought my entire stock, or spent that $500 at Stanley and got a photo. An autograph.
Yes. Yeah. Oh man, I saw some. Yeah, I met Tony Harris as well. I met Basil Gogos, painter of many awesome famous monsters covers, and he was cool. He was old as fuck and super nice.
Yeah. I didn't have anything for him. Otherwise, I would have wanted to meet him because he is great.
Oh man, it's weird. I honestly don't own anything he's done, but I've loved his artwork for years, and I just see like covers of magazines that he's done. I'm like, that's amazing, you know. But I bought a T-shirt from him. Creature King Black.
That's the thing. Like, I couldn't afford a print or anything. Otherwise, you know, that would have been a reason to go there.
Yeah.
But I had no money. That's why I had to be snuck in.
Right. And I also met Kevin Nolan, and
I met him as well.
Yeah, he was super cool.
Yeah.
I had him autograph a Batman comic for me.
I had him autograph at the Superman Alien crossover.
Oh, nice.
The Wildcats Alien crossover.
Wow.
And the Hellboy issue Buster Oakley Gets His Wish.
Yeah.
The hilarious thing about all this, and it's his fault, honestly, is that all those covers are just mostly black. And so he had a difficult time finding any place to sign those.
Right?
Yeah.
That's funny. Because all he had was black pens.
Yep.
Yeah. You'd think if you do that much work with, you know, black and white and a lot of shadows, you'd keep like a white
gold
gel pen
Sharpie
or something.
Yeah. No, but my experience with Kevin Nolan was also a little more different than yours. In that, like I said, I got snuck in, so I was there like an hour early. And then when the doors opened, you know, Joe G, you know, made his way in, and the first thing he did was stand in Kevin Nolan's line. And so where Bruce's table was like 2 tables down from where Kevin Nolan was. So I could see, like, straight through, like, to where Kevin Nolan was sitting, and mostly see exactly where Joe G was standing. And so, after about, like, half an hour of just, bullshitting with my friends Bruce and Mike, like, I look over and Joe G is in the exact same spot that he was, like, 30 minutes earlier. So, like, I text him. I'm like, what the fuck is happening there? And he responded back with, like, some sort of, like, sarcastic thing, because he did not know that I was being serious. Like, I'm very curious as to why he's not moving.
Right,
yeah. So he wound up, like, sneaking a picture of what was happening at the front of the line. Kevin Nolan.
Oh, everyone just had to do another shot.
Yep. Magnola.
They're all dead.
Kevin Nolan was drawing sketches for people at the show for $40, which is an insanely good deal.
Yeah.
And one that I would have taken had I had $40.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I tried to get one Sunday, but he was already full up.
Yeah.
He had a list.
But, yeah, he was drawing for people in his line, like, as they were just standing there waiting. So it was taking a while.
Right.
Yeah. So then, about an hour and a half later, it was about 11 o'clock or so. Bruce and his wife and son all had, tickets to go get their picture taken with, Stan Lee.
Nice.
So they left the table, and, since I wasn't officially watching the table, I just abandoned Mike and left him to it. And, just said, okay, I'll go ahead and grab some autographs here while, everybody's gone and doing stuff.
Right.
So, met Tony Harris, who was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little surly.
Right.
Yeah. But then he had some reason to be. He and Joseph Michael Lisner, who I also met, both of their tables were basically right at like ground zero of the Stan Lee line. And so basically every time that, it was a new round of Stan Lee whatevers.
Right.
Basically they would just have like thousands of people standing in front of their booths with like, who didn't give a fuck about them. Yeah.
At least you'd think like occasionally somebody that's stuck in line there would like glance over and be like, oh, that's awesome. Maybe I'll buy that.
Yeah. Nope.
No.
They're spending $500 just to watch an old man's empty shell, sit on a chair. Yeah. While his handlers yell questions into his ear.
Oh, man.
Because apparently, at 93 years old, Stan Lee, not very spry.
Right,
And cannot hear and apparently cannot see.
We saw him speak like 10 years ago, and he was pretty darn spry.
Sure.
Like, he was lively.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you're almost 100.
Yeah, well, yeah. I guess that last 10 years really, it does take it out of you.
Mm-hmm. So then after that was done, like, I only brought stuff for like 4 creators to sign.
Mm-hmm.
And, Lisner and Harris were 2 of them. And Kevin Nolan was one, so, like, I got done with both of them and walked back around, and I saw the line to Kevin Nolan was significantly shorter than what it had been. And, Joe had moved up quite a bit. I think he was 2nd or 3rd at that point in line. And I was like, okay, I'll just go stand in line and wait for that. Surely it can't take too long.
Right.
And I just had like 3 books for him to sign, and like I said, I couldn't afford a sketch. I stood there for an hour.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at one point, the guy in front of me, turned around. I was like, "Are you just getting books signed?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Well, you can probably just cut in front and just get them signed, because everybody in this line is getting sketches." I was like, part of me was like, well, I feel bad because you've all been standing here like 2 hours.
Right. Yeah.
And like, I'm just, cutting. Yeah. I was like, but at the same time,
it would take you 2 minutes at the tops.
Exactly.
Or more like 30 seconds. Probably.
Yeah. So at that point, Joe was getting his sketch from Kevin Nolan, which was awesome, by the way. He, of course, got the Flash.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, like, I texted Joe and I was like, do you think it'd be alright if I just cut in front of you and got my book signed so I can not be in line anymore? He was like, I think so. Like, yeah, everybody behind me is getting sketches.
Right.
So I was like, I'm gonna do it. So, like, I cut up in front of Joe. I was just like, yeah, I just want to know if I can get some books signed. I don't want to sketch or anything. And, Kevin Nolan, like, looked at me and he was like, I'm gonna finish this sketch first. So I still had to wait for Joe's ass. But then, yeah, like I said, he could not find a single place on the cover to sign his name because they're all black.
Right.
But, nice guy, and certainly I did not mind watching him draw a sketch of the Flash.
That's kind of cool. Yeah, when I went at Sunday, there was nobody at his table, but he was drawing Hellboy.
Nice.
By Mike Mignola. And
Mignola?
Yeah. Okay. And it looked awesome. It was like a full body sketch, and he like had his trench coat on, and it was really cool.
Nice.
But yeah, he signed my comic, and talked to me for a couple minutes, and then
Nice.
I never saw anybody else at his table to, like, you know, while I was there. But he was super cool. He's like seriously one of the most underrated comics artists.
Absolutely.
At least with comic fans. Like, you hear other artists say, like, man, that guy's amazing. But I've never heard, other than me and you and maybe Joe G,
right.
I've never heard anybody mention his name.
Yeah.
Which blows my mind.
Like, yeah, even the line for him when he had the line on Saturday was not nearly as big as you would imagine. And
Right.
I think it was probably mostly because doing $40 sketches.
Yeah.
That's super cheap.
Yeah.
For someone of his caliber and status. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really awesome of
Yeah.
him, honestly. I mean, yeah, most people charge that much just to sign something.
Right.
If they're like, you know, Neil Adams or whoever.
Yeah.
That sort of caliber.
Yep.
I don't know what Neil was charging, but he was there.
He was there. He does charge for autographs.
Mm-hmm.
And I know he had a huge booth.
Oh, it was enormous.
Yeah. And then Rob Liefeld charged.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, but that was like the best $600 I ever spent.
Sure.
I was like, my Youngblood #1 is now signed.
Right. Well, I mean, he is the creator of Deadpool.
And unarguably. And if for an extra $500, I got my photo with him, so it was only $1,100, and I was like, well, that's nothing.
Totally worth it. I mean, he was in Deadpool, the movie.
That's true. Yeah.
And then so was Stan Lee.
Oh,
Do you think they talked about their experiences on set?
Maybe. Yeah. Rob Liefeld yelled like how awesome it was in the Stanley's. I did see a photo of them together. For the like promo Cincinnati thing. They were like, it was definitely not like, you know, a publicity Photoshop thing. They were just chilling together.
Right.
So it was pretty cool.
Somebody propped Stanley's corpse up to him.
Oh. Yeah. It was a good show too, and I found a bunch of awesome dollar comics.
I know. Yeah, you brought them over to the table, and then we flipped through them all, and some pretty great stuff in there.
Oh, yeah.
And some ridiculous shit.
It's mostly like stuff I'd never even heard of, but it was like 80s and 90s alternative comics and like amateur superhero comics.
Yeah.
And I love that stuff, like just like the weird I mean, some of them I'll never read probably, but just looking at it, the cover, and to me it's like an awesome little piece of history where someone was like, I can do a superhero comic,
right.
And like they did it, you know,
yeah.
Which is awesome, but you know, it's clearly not professional level, and that's the charm, you know.
Yep. But then, like, some of them even had like professionals who did like the cover, but like the insides were just like you or me,
or like I found a couple really old Eric Larson comics.
Yeah.
And then one of them I didn't even realize Dean Haspiel had drawn, and you pointed out. To me, it looked like he was really trying to do a Howard Chaykin style.
Right.
Like to me, it looked more like Chaykin than Haspiel. But obviously he figured out how to draw like Haspiel, which is awesome. Kind of goes back to the theme of the show.
Yep.
But yeah, I found some great stuff. I spent like $50 on dollar comics, and I got some fucking great stuff.
I spent $12 on comics on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah. About 2 $5 trades and 2 $1 comics.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I saw a bunch of cheap trades, but I didn't see anything I really wanted.
I saw stuff I wanted, but, you know, like I just did not have the money, really.
Right.
I mean, one of these days I'm going to go to one of these cons and, like, just have, like, $100 that I can just blow.
Right.
You know? Hasn't happened yet, but someday.
Someday.
Yeah. Or maybe one of these days I'm doing a convention where I'm actually having stuff to sell. I'll sell some stuff so I can buy some stuff.
That's cool too.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Hell, I couldn't even buy a pop on Saturday. But that was mostly because every time I went to any area that had drinks was just packed full of people.
Oh yeah, the lines were long.
Saturday was insane.
I heard Saturday was like 20 times as many people. It was crazy.
And I mean, it was rough enough Sunday walking through some of the crowds, like, you know, the one time that I left the table, but Saturday was, definitely 100 times worse.
Yeah.
It's just, people have just no sense of, like, their surroundings.
Right.
Either.
They just stop and, like, yeah.
They're just, like, you know, like, half the time you're stopping because, like, some dipshit wants to take a picture of a half-naked lady in the aisle, you know?
And you know what? I understand. There were some cute ladies in revealing costumes.
Yeah.
You gotta love cosplay.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to, I'm not perving out. I'm just saying, there's some beautiful women.
Oh, absolutely, for sure.
And then there were some impressive dudes, like some crazy, there's some good costumes there.
But, you know, at the same time, move to an area where there's not 3,000 people trying to pass you.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, there was a guy as Nightcrawler, and he was awesome. He, like, had the contacts and everything, and he was, like, posing and with kids. It was cool.
My favorite was Prince Adam.
Oh, yeah. He owned that show, man. It was like a kind of a skinny Prince Adam.
Yep.
With the speaker on his belt.
Yep. That played
continuously.
Yep. Had that song stuck in my head for like 3 days afterwards.
Yeah, there's the
opening message.
The transformation theme or whatever. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was great. And he just marched through.
Oh yeah, he wasn't strutting.
Yeah, he wasn't. Yeah, just like walking around looking at stuff. He was like, it looked like he was walking down a runway, like a model runway. Yeah, he was awesome. Good for that dude.
Yeah, I did. I yelled at a few people here and there, because I'm just a giant asshole who can't deal with anybody.
Yeah.
Saturday trying to get through the crowd, and of course being stopped by people taking photos or whatever, and trying to follow Joe just fucking plows through people at a convention.
Yeah.
Like, he does not give a fuck. Like, he will, I'm sure he has practically just knocked people over. And I'm trying to keep up with him. And, and then we get bottlenecked by cosplayers or whatever.
Right.
And so, at a certain point, we're, trying to get through the crowd, and, some guy behind me was like, "Hey, we're trying to get through here!" And, I turn around and yell, "So is everybody fucking else!"
It's funny, because I forgot about this, but on my way to Liefeld, when I was, kind of briskly walking, I wasn't running, I've got some dignity.
Right.
But as I was running to Rob Liefeld,
you could have been first in line.
I could have been an asshole. But there was these two stormtroopers, dudes in full stormtrooper gear, marching through the aisle that I was on, and they were walking in the same direction as me, right in front of me, and they were kind of slowly marching, and they were side by side sort of, so I couldn't quite pass them. I was like, the stormtroopers are keeping me from Liefeld. It was pretty surreal.
Yeah, I ran into some stormtroopers like that as well, and I just fucking passed right through them.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
I eventually got right by them, but I think they were just, because they had their rifles, and so it was taking up the whole aisle, basically, because there's other people on the sides of the aisle and looking at boxes, and I was like, I
know Joe almost killed the person because they had a giant fucking plastic weapon thing that was 3 foot wide, taking up the aisle, and couldn't get past it. He got hit by it. He was pissed. He was furious. And I don't blame him.
You gotta expect a little of that at a comic convention.
I mean, some pushing and shoving, sure, but, you don't want
to be smacked with a weapon.
Exactly, right? Yeah. And also, if people were just fucking aware of their surroundings, and that goes for every place. I mean, come on. It is seriously, it's a huge problem in the entire world, not just at comic conventions. Fucking know where you're at and what's around you.
Sure.
Yeah, just be goddamn courtesy. Yeah, can't even talk, I'm so mad. Magnola!
It's actually pronounced Magnola. Yeah, we had a good time. Basically, it was fun. Yeah.
I did get mad at one guy who kept coming up to my table. Or Bruce's table, but I had a slight corner of it.
Yeah.
And he was looking through my sketch covers, and he pulled out my Gem and the Holograms cover that I did a couple weeks ago, in which I drew the Misfits. And he got so excited about it, and held it close to his chest, and he excitedly showed the guy at the table next to us, and he was like, "This is awesome," and he put it back.
Yeah.
And then he came back a second time, and he did pretty much the exact same thing, and showed it to, like, another person, and he put it back. And then he came back a third time. This time he had a woman with him, and, like, he showed it to her, and he was like, oh, man, this is, like, the greatest, this is awesome. And I was like, well, you know, he's been here 3 times already, you know.
Surely he's gonna buy it.
Right? So I said, well, you could always buy it. And he put it back in the box, looked at me as if I just punched him in the stomach, and walked away.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh. That's a bummer.
Uh-huh.
I'm surprised he didn't buy it. I mean, he loved it.
Right?
You know.
Clearly he loved it.
Right. Maybe he just liked showing it off.
That's
but then
fine.
if he owned it, he could show it off all the time.
Exactly.
Like all that enjoyment he's missing out on.
Exactly.
It's a nice cover.
Thank you. Buy it. Yeah. Anything else happening? Anything you've read or watched recently?
No. I mean, I watched Alien last night. When I went to bed.
It's once a week occurrence
at least. Yeah. No, yeah, not really. I read some old Atlas comics. I read Tiger Man #1 the other day. It was pretty good. Yeah, nothing too exciting. Right?
Yeah, I haven't really. I don't know if I talked about it on the last episode or if it was after, but I read Black Church.
Oh, yeah.
By Andy Belange. It was good. I liked it.
It looks awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It ends on a cliffhanger. I wish there was more. I hope there's more. I don't think there is.
Oh. And it's been a while.
It's been a while, and he's currently working on Southern Cross with Becky Cloonan.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's also got a pretty kick-ass looking playlist written in the back of it, though.
Oh, really? You're supposed to listen to it while you...
Probably.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, it's still a kick-ass playlist to listen to no matter what. Right. It's all, like, you know, metal. Just 80s and 90s metal.
Nice.
Lots of just metal.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Black Church is a very metal-looking comic.
Yes, it is. It's even sold in a record sleeve.
Nice. Yeah.
And then other than that, Luke Cage premiered on Netflix, and I've been watching the crap out of that.
I've heard some good things.
It's pretty good. I love the music in it.
Mm-hmm.
Love the music in it. And I don't normally ever say that about anything.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out.
You definitely should.
Yeah.
No, although, I don't know, like, it's one of those things, you being a, sort of Luke Cage, Power Man purist, I'd say.
Right.
You might hate it.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. But, like, as a story, it's good. The acting's really good. I like what's happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Luke Cage, him and Iron Fist have been 2 of my favorite Marvel characters since I was a child.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite comics, Power Man and Iron Fist, when I was a kid. I just loved the combo of those 2 characters. Yeah, I got a soft spot in my heart.
Sure.
So I'll check it out.
I do as well. But yeah, I like it. It's good. It's good stuff.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Otherwise, not too much else.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I saw King's X play live.
Oh, yeah.
Forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thursday night, like right here in Dayton, they played on 3rd Street. So
I remember their ads in the back of comics.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They were really good. I'm surprised because I'm not super familiar with their repertoire. I've only ever heard maybe like 2 songs by them before I saw them live. And I just went with my cousin who loves them. And yeah, they were really good.
Yeah.
They're very good.
Awesome.
Yeah. I would see them play again if they came by.
Nice.
Yeah.
They gained a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they've been playing, it's the same 3 dudes. And
wow.
And they've been playing for 30 years this year.
That's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that is kind of a rare thing.
It really is, especially since like the last time they had a radio hit was in the 90s.
Right.
And they're like, fuck it, we still like doing it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
that's
usually
awesome.
at that point, it's like, you know, like almost no one original is in the band at
Right.
that point. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, same 3 dudes since 87
that is super awesome and super respectable.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
They kicked ass, man. So yeah. So what's happening next week on Gutter Trash?
Well, I've got a comic that I'd like to read because I have not yet. But if you'll allow me, I will read it.
Did it come here from another country?
It did not.
Aww. Bummer.
Although one of its creators is from another country.
Oh, that's close enough.
Yeah. I am liking to pick a book.
Did you come from another country?
See. The book I'd like to read is Dark Knight, a Batman tale.
What? Not
The Dark Knight.
Okay.
Not The Dark Knight Returns. It's just Dark Knight with an N.
And it's not Dark Knight Strikes Again.
No, it is Dark Knight with an N. N-I-G-H-T.
Okay.
It is by Paul Dini and Eduardo Rizzo.
Okay.
And it is the story of Paul Dini getting mugged and beaten and dealing with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I would love to read such a book.
All right. Yeah. It's available out there in the world.
So it's a DC Vertigo, isn't it?
It is a DC Vertigo.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Let's do this, bitch.
Paul Dini, of course, was most famous for writing on Batman the Animated Series. So that's
That wasn't for writing Uncle Sam?
He did not write Uncle Sam.
Wasn't that him?
Nope.
Who was that?
I have no idea.
Huh.
Some dude.
Okay.
Yeah. No, seriously.
Yeah.
Just some nobody that Alex Ross knew.
Yeah. Hey. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
All right.
I've actually wanted to read this, so
Sweet.
and I do not own it, so that'd be awesome.
All right. I just have to dig it out of my pile of stuff from when I had Eduardo Rizzo sign it 3 weeks ago.
Ooh, so I gotta be careful not to, like, smudge his signature.
Yeah. I mean, he did spend 20 minutes on his signature alone. So.
It's a complicated signature.
It is, yeah. And it's done in white gel pen. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right.
Sweet. The Dark Knight.
Just Dark Knight.
Oh, Dark Knight.
Yes. I think the subtitle is either a Batman tale or a true Batman tale. I can't remember. Or, yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Well, keep one foot in the gutter and one fist in the gold.
Thank you for listening to Gutter Trash. You can subscribe to the show from guttertrash.net or from iTunes and leave us a review. Visit guttertrash.net for email information and for other podcasts and websites in the Gutter Trash Network. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.